Sundarbans of Bengal, its name meaning beautiful forest. It's a place where nature and humans have learned coexistence over centuries. People of Sundarban have learned to navigate the shallow but dangerous waters of this region over generations. They know how to avoid the Bengal tigers that roam these dangerous marshlands, but then again, these are tangible threats, something that can be explained via logic, and any harm that comes from them can be mitigated using common sense. The Sundarbans do not look like a place that takes lives without a reason, not at first. But these mangroves hide a secret, something that cannot be explained by common sense or science. From a distance, the delta looks almost gentle. The mangroves rise from the water in a tangled green walls, their roots submerged, their canopy close and dark. The rivers here flow quietly, with the inherent certainty of something that knows it has all the time in the world. Their murky waters hiding things under their flow. Water channels that exist in the morning disappear by evening. Islands emerge and vanish. What looks like solid ground can swallow a man to his waist in seconds. The people who live here, the fishermen, the honey collectors, the crab catchers, they know that delta the way other people know a language. Fluently, instinctively, in their bones, they can read the current, smell the water, navigate by the angle of light on the water, and yet they disappear. Every year, men who have fished these channels since childhood row out at dusk and never come back. Their bodies wash up days later in remote parts of the swamp, miles far from anywhere they would have gone. The police calls them drowning accidents. The official records are sparse, but the fishing communities of the Sundarbans, the families on the islands of Gosaba and Sagar, the villages along the channels of Satkira and Bagarhat, they don't call them accidents. They call them the Aleya. And they will tell you, if you ask them, and if you ask them gently, that the men did not lose their way. They followed the light. Welcome to Graveline Stories. I'm Vivek and I bring you stories of horror, folklore and black magic from India. And it's not just stories, I bring you an entire world that was hidden from you, and I show it to you through stories. Real stories from real people who lived through it. And if you like this video, if you like the story, please leave a like. If not, dislike it and tell me what's wrong in the comments and I'll fix it in the next one. And without further ado, let's begin, shall we? It is just after midnight. Ratan Das is rowing home. He is 45 years old. He has been a fisherman on the Sundarban Delta his entire life. His father was a fisherman, his grandfather was a fisherman, and their father before them fished the same murky channels before any of this was called the Delta, before anyone had given it a name at all. Ratan knows this water the way other men know their homes. He knows which channel run fast after rain, which run sluggish in the dry months. He knows the dead tree on the eastern bank of the third channel, the one with two branches that cross like arms, that tells him he is 4 minutes from mooring where he ties his boat each night. He knows where he is going. He always knows where he is going. And then, somewhere ahead of him, above the surface of water, something begins to glow. He stops rowing. The oar rests across the gunwale. The boat drifts. The only sound is the slow movement of water against the hull and somewhere far off in the mangroves, something settling in the dark. Light. The light is the size of a fist. It floats perhaps a meter above the surface of the channel, perfectly still. Blue-green, not the yellow of a lantern, not the white of a torch beam. Something in between these colors. Something that has no name in the vocabulary of ordinary light. It does not flicker. It does not pulse. It simply exists, hanging in the air above the black water, steady and cold, as if it had been waiting there for quite some time. Then a second light appears beside the first, then a third. Ratan Das, who has fished this delta for 30 years, who has rowed home in storms and in fog, and in the absolute moonless dark of the deepest monsoon night, has never seen anything like this. To understand what happens to Ratan Das on that Tuesday evening, you first need to understand the place where it happens. The Sunderbans are the largest tidal mangrove delta on Earth. Over 10,000 square kilometers of forest, marsh, river channel, and tidal flat, split between India and Bangladesh. The word Sundarban roughly meaning beautiful forest. The mangroves rise in a dense green wall of the water. The channel winds between islands in slow, unhurried curves. Egrets stand in the shallows, kingfishers cut low across the surface. But the Sundarbans are not a gentle place. The terrain shifts with every tide. Channels that exist in the morning are gone by evening. Islands emerge from the water and vanish again over the span of years. What looks like solid ground can swallow a man to the waist in seconds. And beneath the water, the current is not always as it appears on the surface. The Sundarban Delta is fed by the Ganges, the Brahmaputra and the Meghna, and the combined weight of these rivers moving through 1,000 narrow channels creates eddies and countercurrents that can spin a small boat sideways in open water without warning. The people who live here, the fishermen on the islands of Gosaba and Sagar, the honey collectors who move through the forest in groups because the tigers follow lone men, the crab catchers who wade into the mud at low tides, they are not reckless people. They are, if anything, among the most careful people in India. Caution is not a personality trait here. It is a survival skill, taught young and maintained always, and yet they disappear. Every year, experienced fishermen who have worked these channels since childhood row out at dusk and do not come back. Their boats are sometimes found drifting and empty, miles from where they should be. Their bodies surface days later, often in remote corners of the delta, far from any channel they would have chosen to use. In the water they had no reason to enter. The police note the deaths. They write, drowning, accidental, and the file is closed. But the communities along these channels do not close their files so easily because they know something the police report does not capture. They know the distance, they know the direction, they know that their fathers, who were careful men who knew these waters, did not end up miles from home by accident. They followed something. And the communities of Sundarban, both on the Indian side and across the border, have a single word for what their fathers followed. They call it the Aleya. Back in the boat, back in the dark, Ratan rows towards the light. The lights retreat. Not dramatically, not fast, just slightly further away from where they were, Ratan rows harder. The lights stay the same distance away. He rows harder still. The lights move away from him. He stops, rests the oar again, breathes. The lights stop too. They hover there, 3 cold, blue-green points above the water, perfectly motionless now that he has stopped pursuing them. And in the silence, in the few seconds while Ratan sits in his boat and watches the light and tries to understand what he is looking at, he notices something that will stay with him for the rest of his life. When he stopped rowing, the lights did not just stop, they drifted very slightly back towards him. He has not moved. He is sitting perfectly still. And the lights are coming closer. This is the exact moment that every account of Aleya identifies as a turning point. The moment when the brain says, this is not a lantern, this is not a boat, this is something else. Ratan Das turns his boat around. He rows for home, and behind him, the lights follow. There are things Ratan's grandmother told him when he was very young. He was 8 years old, and she held his face in both her hands and said them very slowly, the way you say things to a child that you need them to carry for life. If you see a light on the water that has no boat beneath it, turn away. Row for home. Do not look it again. Do not speak to it. Do not follow it. Not for any reason. Not if it looks like it knows where you are going, especially then. He nodded the way children nod at things they don't fully understand, but can feel are serious. And then he had gone out on the water with his father, and the lights that appeared were the lights of other boats, and the lights of the island, and the lights of the star, and his grandmother's words had settled somewhere at the bottom of his memory, and stayed there, undisturbed, for 37 years. They are not at the bottom of his memory anymore. He rose. He does not look back. The communities along the Sunderban channels have been passing down the same warning as long as anyone can trace. Ask an old fisherman of these lands, and something changes in his face. He grows quiet. His eyes go somewhere beyond the riverbank, to some memory or to the weight of everything he has been told. And he speaks it all. He says what they all say. It is the light you must never follow. The legends are specific. The Aleya Lights are souls of the fishermen who have drowned in this channel. Men who went out at night in the monsoon season and did not return. Men who died in the water without proper rites, without the prayers that would allow them to pass through. And so they stayed. They drift over channels where they drowned, still moving, still searching, still looking for the way home that they cannot find. And in their confusion, in their grief, they do to the living what was done to them. They offer a light. They say, "Follow me, I know the way." And the light leads nowhere, because the dead fisherman does not know the way. He has been trying to find it since the night he drowned. His lostness becomes your lostness. His inability to find the shore becomes your inability to find the shore. You inherit his confusion like a fever, and by the time you understand what has happened, you are deep in the marsh, in the water you do not recognize, and the dark is everywhere. This is what Ratan's grandmother knew. This is what she told him with both hands on his face. She was not telling him a story, she was giving him a map. Ratan rose. He is going in the right direction. He is certain of this. The lights are behind him now. He is not looking at them. He is heading back along the channel towards Gosaba, towards the mooring, towards his wife and the lamp she leaves burning in the window. He knows which way he is going. He has always known. Except the dead tree should be here. The one with two branches that cross like arms that tells him he is 4 minutes from home. It is always there. He had passed it thousands of times, but it is not here. He rose further. Had he misjudged the distance? The monsoon has been heavier this year. Perhaps the water level has changed. Perhaps the tree is lower than he expects, hidden in the dark. He will see it soon. He will see it soon. He rode and rode, but he did not see it. What he sees instead is open water where there should be no open water. The channel should narrow here, should bend left towards the island. Instead, it opens out into something wide and still and utterly unfamiliar. Ratan stops. He does not understand. He has rowed this exact channel, in this exact direction, since he was 8 years old. The shape of it is in his body, not just his mind. His arms know when to angle the oar for the bend. His ears know the sound of the water when it narrows. None of those things are happening. Nothing is where it should be. He turns the boat and rows back the way he came. The channel he had just come down does not look right either. He is not panicking yet. He is too experienced to panic, but something cold has settled in his chest. That is not quite fear, not quite confusion, but something that lives between those two things. Something that has no name. He tried to reorient. He looked for the stars, but the clouds are low and monsoon is heavy. He listens for the sound of the generators on the other islands. He hears nothing. He rows in the direction where he thinks the island should be. He rows for a long time. The island is not there. Ratan Das has been in that channel with those lights for he does not know how long. He has lost the track of time. He is not sure which direction he came from. The islands that should be to his east might be to his north, or maybe further than he thinks. He rows, and the water opens and does not narrow towards home, and the cold thing in his chest has moved up to his throat. He is lost. He who has never been lost here, who cannot be lost here, is lost. Before Ratan's father first took him out on the water, there was a ceremony. His grandmother came to the riverbank at dusk. She bought a small clay lamp, the kind that burns coconut oil, and a handful of rice, and 3 flowers she had picked that morning and kept in the water all day. She knelt at the edge of the mud where the water began, and she placed the flower on the surface of the channel. She then lit the lamp and whispered something that Ratan was too young to hear. He asked his father what she was doing. Atoshi Toron, his father said, appeasing the wandering. It is a ritual performed by fishing communities across the Sundarbans Delta before any night departure. It varies in its specifics from family to family, village to village. Some use flowers, some use rice, Some use a small piece of fruit or a coin, but the structure is always the same: a lamp, an offering, and a prayer spoken quietly to the water. The prayer is a request. It is addressed to whatever moves out in the dark channels, whatever drift above the surface after midnight, whatever has taken the men who did not come back. It says, I am here. I am going out into your world. I mean no disrespect. Please let me pass through it and come home. On that night, Ratan Das rode home and saw 3 blue-green lights above the water. He had performed the Atoshi Tauron before he had left at dusk. He had lit the lamp and placed the rice and whispered what needed to be whispered. He had done everything right. This is perhaps the most frightening thing about the Aleya Lights. It does not always care. Ratan rose until his arms gave out. He does not know how long this takes. He has no watch. The phone he carries in a waterproof pouch died hours ago. The battery, he realizes, ran down sometime while he was rowing in circles without noticing that he was rowing in circles. He rests. The boat drifts. The lights are still there. He can see them in his peripheral vision. He is no longer looking at them directly. He is following his grandmother's instructions, about that much at least. But they are there, somewhere off to his left. Still that same cold blue-green, still hovering above the water with the terrible patience of the things that do not tire. He is in a part of the delta he does not recognize. He is certain of this now. The trees on the bank are different shapes. The sound of the water is different. There is no sound at all from the Gusaba Islands, no generator hum, no distant voices, no dog barking. There is nothing but water and the dark and the lights and the very slow movement of his drifting boat. He thinks about the stories his grandmother told him, not just the warning about lights, the other stories about the man who disappeared, his great uncle who went out one August night in the 1970 and whose empty boat was found 2 weeks later near the Bangladesh border, his neighbor's father who was an experienced man, a sensible man who left at sunset and whose body was recovered 6 days later from a channel 15 miles from Gosaba in waters he had no reason to be in. A thought crosses Ratan's mind. They were here, in a boat, in the dark, not knowing which way was home. They were exactly here. Ratan is not a dramatic man. He does not cry. He puts the oar back in the water and he rows again, picking a direction, any direction, because motion is better than stillness, because moving means living, because his wife has left a lamp in the window and he is going to find it whatever it takes. The sky very slowly begins to lighten in the east. 47 people have lost their lives in these dark waters. Local police records, incomplete, sparse and conservative in their attributions, document at least 47 deaths in the Sunderbans over the past centuries that were directly connected to the encounters with the Aleya Lights. 47 official deaths, which means the number is almost certainly higher because this is a remote country, because these are poor communities with little political weight, because not every missing fisherman gets a file and not every file stays open. The victims share a pattern. They do not drown where they fished. They drown far from home, miles from any channel they would have chosen, in water they had no reason to enter. as if they were led, as if something patient and luminous had guided them hour by hour, step by step, away from everything they knew. And in the summer of 2025, the same summer Ratan Das rose home on a Tuesday evening, something changes. The disappearances, which are already a slow, persistent bleed across the decades, suddenly accelerate. In a single month, 5 fishermen vanish. 5 in 30 days, all from the Sunderbans region. All after reporting encounter with the lights. Their families give the same accounts. The men described the lights. The men expressed unease. The men went back out and did not return. The situation becomes alarming enough that Superintendent of Police Madhav Chandra Mandal deploys patrol boats across the affected channels. The West Bengal government commits funds to establish monitoring stations. A 24-hour helpline is announced for fishermen to report sightings, and the SP, in his statement to the press, says something that a policeman is generally not in the habit of saying. He says, whether supernatural or natural, these lights are leading people to their deaths, and we cannot ignore that reality. Whether natural or supernatural. Not these are swamp gas and the men drowned by accident. Not there is a rational explanation and we will provide it. None of that. Whether supernatural or natural, which means we do not know what this is. We know only what it does. And what it does is lead people into water from which they do not return. 47 official deaths. 5 men in 1 month. Patrol boats, a helpline, an admission of uncertainty from the authorities, and Ratan Das rowing towards a horizon that is beginning just barely to show the first grey edge of dawn. Perhaps the story was always about malice. The dead fishermen trapped in the delta, angry at what happened to them, reaching back through whatever membrane separates them from the living to drag the living down with them. Revenge, hunger, the endless appetite of undead for company in their misery. This is not the story the communities of Sundarbans tell. The story that they tell is gentler and, in its way, considerably sadder. The Aleya Lights are not malicious, they are confused. The drowned fisherman drifting above his channel does not know he is dead. He knows only what he knew in life. These waters, these channels, the way home from here in the dark. He is trying to find home. He is trying to find the night he drowned. And when he sees another fisherman on the water, he does what any man would do for a fellow traveler who seemed to have lost his way. He offers light. He offers guidance. He says, "Follow me." He is not lying. He is not luring. He genuinely believes in whatever way a soul trapped in waterway can ever believe anything. That he knows the way. He has been trying to find it for years. Decades. He thinks he's almost there. He leads you exactly where he is going. Nowhere. Because the path home for a dead man does not exist. It never did. The light he offers is the light of his own permanent, irreducible lostness. And following it, you inherit that lostness. His confusion becomes your confusion. His inability to find shore becomes your inability to find shore. The Aleya does not drag you down. It does not drown you. It simply makes you forget which way is home. And the water, patient and without opinion, does the rest. This is what makes the legend so unbearable. Not the malice, not the good intention. They're reaching out in the dark from one lost soul to another, offering the only thing it has, a light that goes nowhere. Ratan Das finds shore at dawn. He does not know exactly how. He rows east towards the lightening sky, and eventually the open marsh gives way to a channel, and the channel narrows, and he follows the narrowing with the animal certainty of something moving towards warmth. And after a time he sees mangroves close on both sides, and the mangroves are the ones he recognizes. And then he sees the dead tree on the eastern bank, the one with two branches that cross like arms, and he knows where he is. He is 20 minutes from his mooring, in the opposite direction from where he expected. He does not understand how he got here. He cannot reconstruct the night. There are hours of it that are simply gone, not hazy, gone, as if the night removed them cleanly, like pages torn from a book. He knows he rode. He knows he was lost. He knows the lights were there. And then he knows that the sky got light and he found the shore, and here he is. He ties the boat. He walks home. His wife is awake, has been awake all night. She does not ask where he was. She makes tea. He sits on the floor and his hands are shaking. He wraps them around the cup and says nothing for a long time. Later, much later, he talks to a journalist. He says, "The lights seemed to follow me, and I lost my way completely. I found the shore at dawn." 15 words. The whole night compressed into 15 words. Perhaps that is all any experience like that ever becomes, when you try to put it into a language that other people can hold. 15 words, and beneath them, the hours that cannot be reconstructed, the missing pages, the dark water that gave him back when it could have kept him. He was lucky. He knows he was lucky. He knows this because he knows about the 5 men who disappeared the same month. 5 men who, like him, saw the lights, who, unlike him, did not find the shore at dawn. Their boats were found, their bodies were found later, in the remote parts of the delta where the current carries things it does not give back quickly. 5 men, the same lights, the same water. He does not know why he came back. They did not. He does not know why the dark water allowed him to return. He does not know why the lights let him go. Did the lights not want him? He does not think about this question for too long. The Sunderbans have always taken and given in the same breath. The same delta that swallows men whole is the delta that feeds their families. The same channels that carry people away from home at night carry fish into the nets at dawn. There is no version of life that does not include the risk. There is no fisherman in Sundarbans who does not know this, that the water is not on his side, that it is not on anyone's side, that it simply is. Massive and tidal and older than any names given to it, and so the ritual continues. And somewhere above the surface of a channel that has no name on any map, in a part of delta where the tidal flats open into open marsh and the stars that are only landmark, and the only sound is the slow movement of the water against the banks, a light appears, blue, green, fist size, perfectly still, and then another besides the first, and then a third. They hover over there above the black waters in the absolute dark of a monsoon midnight, waiting with the patience of things that do not sleep, things that do not tire, things that have been waiting since before anyone alive can remember and will be waiting long after everyone alive is gone. They are beautiful, they are cold, and they are already beginning, very slowly, to move towards the sound of oars. Don't follow